The Comanche series has been going for a long time. The first game arrived in 1992, but it's come a long way since then, and although the series has lain dormant for nearly 20 years, THQ Nordic has revived the franchise for 2020. The developer has been handed the reins for Comanche's return, and you can play the game for yourself on Steam, where it was recently released in early access form. But should you play it for yourself? That's the question we are aiming to answer right here at this moment in time. Being in early access means that Comanche is in its most basic form right now, with limited content and even more limited options. Indeed, there aren't even proper graphics options, as I couldn't change resolution settings. A quick look at the Steam discussions page told me that it was defaulting to your desktop resolution, but that actually isn't true for me. I ran it both 1080p and 4K desktop resolutions with no difference. It looked like it defaulted to 720p at best, which isn't exactly ugly, but it did leave it looking rather pixelated. Even in early access, you'd kind of expect resolution settings to be present from the start. That said, despite the only visual options being an overall quality setting, where I opted for Epic, it still looks pretty good. The water looks lovely with realistic reflections and waves lapping at the rocks below. Flying over forests, you can see individual trees, but obviously don't get too close, yeah? Things tend to get a bit crashy and fiery if you do, even as you pass by at speed. It's just a shame it all seemed to look like I was viewing through a sort of nostalgic pixelated filter. While Comanche aims to recreate helicopter combat, it isn't really a full simulation. Much like Ace Combat 7, it straddles the line between realism and arcade shooter, preferring a faster paced approach to the genre. To support this, Comanche is set in a fictional near future, albeit following an event based on recent history. A secret project continues with the development of the cancelled RAH-66 Comanche, resulting in a technologically advanced, highly manoeuvrable stealth helicopter, complete with its own unhackable drones. These drones are what separate this game from other helicopter combat games, as certain mission objectives require their use to infiltrate indoor environments. Suddenly the game goes from aerial combat sim to something resembling Descent, as you engage in drone-to-drone shootouts in confined spaces, or have to take down individual soldiers as you make your way to a control panel that will allow you to access a new area. I really quite enjoyed these parts of the games, as they weren't held back by the awkwardness of the helicopter's controls. Yes, I'm afraid to say that Comanche's helicopter controls do feel a little clumsy, at least certainly when using a gamepad. You can select a more arcade control scheme which feels more immediately accessible on a controller, or go for the Pro option if you want the more complete control over everything. Sadly, the options are very limited, and so the currently experimental arcade mode removes the option to strafe from side to side, and trying to rebind controls simply doesn't work right now. Even when you opt for the Pro scheme, the inversion options are seemingly backwards on certain movements, with no way to change it. It can make things rather difficult during combat simulations, as you struggle to avoid the laser-guided accuracy of enemy fire. Thankfully, to combat these control issues, whether intentionally or not, if you die in combat, which you probably will, all is not lost. Much like the original Battlefield Bad Company, all the enemies you killed remain dead. You simply go back in to finish what you already started, though it sometimes feels like a war of attrition, smashing yourself into the enemy lines until they break. And this isn't helped by the sheer length of the story missions. To its credit, Comanche only has one mission right now, so perhaps it taking upwards of an hour to complete is good, content-wise. The available mission is at least split into chapters, so if you don't fancy completing it in one go, you can quit out and return to the beginning of the last chapter you started. Though I hope you enjoy the overuse of military lingo and call signs, because the game throws them about like they're going out of fashion. I found myself tuning out like white noise after a while. Comanche also falls into that old trap of being always online for no discernible reason. While playing the story mission or even the tutorial, pressing the menu button doesn't pause what's going on in-game. Do single-player games really still do that in 2020? Indeed, you can't even play the campaign at all if the servers are struggling, which they apparently are. On multiple occasions, it couldn't log me in, and the only option was to shut down the game entirely and relaunch in order to try again. Why not allow me to retry straight away? Hopefully these are teething issues during the early access period, but it's not off to an ideal start. To be fair, the online portion of the game does have potential, though it's very much a ghost town in these early days. In all my time with the game, the multiplayer was just barren. When you finally get a game after waiting for 10 minutes, it usually ended up one-on-one in games meant for up to 8 players. Others could join in mid-game, but it was still difficult to truly judge the quality of the online play. I only got to check out Black Box mode, in which destroyed Comanches drop their boxes and you have to race down in your drone to pick it up. In a full game, this would require immense teamwork to protect stationary helicopters while the pilot is on drone duty. In such small matches, however, it's relatively easy to do so when you've got a good 8-second window before the enemy respawns. Comanche is a game that could be fun when it's complete, but in its early access state it's missing too many basic features, and this results in a very mixed experience. So to answer the question I was asking at the beginning, I really can't recommend playing Comanche for yourself just yet, but it's certainly got enough potential to warrant keeping a very close eye on how it develops. Thanks so much for watching this preview early access look at Comanche. We hope you enjoyed it. We love bringing you some of the smaller stuff as well as the big games. I say that a lot, but I really, really mean it. If you'd like to subscribe, you can hit that big red rectangle, and if you hit the bell button, we'd really appreciate it because you will never miss the next video we put up. If you want to give us a thumbs up, we'd love that too. And of course, hey, follow us at GodIsAGeek on Twitter, Instagram, we're on Facebook, all the usual stuff. Take care, we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.